So that is one of the things that we do. So how we run a Zoom lab. First thing is for this lab for Physics 1, we do use an IO lab that you can get from the bookstore. You can rent it. I don't happen to have one in my office in here. I have one on the ENGPHYS office, and I have one on my desk at home, but I don't have one in here. We won't need it for the first two labs, but you will need it going forward for the IO lab. So that is something that you can use that'll allow us to do everything that we would do in an in-person lab as well. So you need to go in and get that from the bookstore. You can rent one, and we'll probably do the first one the first week of February. So you want to make sure that you have that. So that's one thing that's there. How I run the labs is I kind of walk you through what you're supposed to do, and we'll do that today. And then you get a week to do the labs, and then you will turn in your laboratory. We'll use smartphones, the IO labs, video analysis software, and just other items that you can find around. I am on the Tonkawa campus. Generally, I'm on the Tonkawa campus Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm on the Enid campus on Fridays. So if there's something that you're having trouble with the lab, you can come see me in person or come to office hours. And I do have Zoom office hours as well, or email me with questions. My recommendation is don't wait to the last minute to do the labs, because we will be doing laboratory reports. So that's one of the things that's there. So when you come into Blackboard and you look at your courses, you will see an Engineering Physics 1 laboratory course. And if I scroll down here, and I will find it. It's my internship. Oops, I went past it somewhere. There it is. It's one with the big tree. And you can open that up. And in here, you'll find the Zoom link for the laboratory. I have some generalized instructions to make virtual labs work out pretty well. Please, if you have not already done so, please introduce yourself so that I can help you with certain examples and keep you guys going on certain things. So that's one thing that you want to be able to deal with. So you have those in here. In the laboratory, you've got resources, you've got learning resources, and then we have individual laboratories. This is going to be our first laboratory. So it's laboratory number 1, graphing and using Excel and the video analysis tool. And we'll walk through that one here shortly. And then you can sort of see some of the other laboratories that we're going to be doing. In your resources folder, I have the IEEE style manual. All of the laboratory reports that you're going to write are laboratory memos, and you need to be using the IEEE reference format. I grade each laboratory as 50 points, except for the last lab. The last lab will be 100 points. But you will lose 5 points right off the top if you do not provide your references for the laboratories. Every laboratory is going to have at least one reference because you're going to reference your laboratory instructions. You may have multiple references, but if you do not have a reference, you're going to lose 5 points right off the top in the laboratory because of not having references. And we are going to use the IEEE format for references. In your Word documents, and I do believe in Google Docs as well, you will be able to put in your references in IEEE. That's one of the options for you. There is a CAM scanner application. I would request that all of your labs, once you get them written, to save them as a PDF or scan them in as a PDF, or you're going to be using your phone as a scanner and a camera. quite a bit throughout the semester. If you use your NOC or your Oklahoma State student email, you can get the pro version of the CAM scanner application. So you do have that as well. In here, you have 2 laboratory memo samples that you can use. I don't care if you use Google Docs or Microsoft Word. Both are accessible through your student accounts. But these are the laboratory memo example. And if you click on this example here, it's thinking about it. There we go. It has this particular lab that we are about to do. This laboratory is an example memo for that laboratory, so you can use this as a guide. I will tell you that this is a good example. It is not an excellent example. It is missing references at the bottom, so it would lose 5 points right away. I will also tell you it is a pet peeve of mine to abbreviate words like lab. It should be laboratory. It will also need to be written in third person, but this is a reasonable example of a laboratory memo. It's in the proper format, and it has everything that I'm requesting for the lab that we're about to do today. So you can use this example as a guide to help you out. So it's not the best example, but it is a good example. But that's the format that we will be using for our laboratory memos. In here, I have information about using Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, and Google Docs so that you can actually use those to the best of your tools. This is an engineering physics course. We're going to start learning our tools, and we're going to utilize our tools. So you do have those links as well in here. So that's just some basic resources. In the learning resources here for this class, I have our laboratory resources. I have some general resources on my Google Drive. I have how to obtain Microsoft Office products and Google Sheets. I have provided you with some links to other textbooks. I have provided you a link to the video analysis tool that we're going to use. I've provided you some more guides and references. So there's all kinds of information in here to help you out. In your laboratory resources, there are the document templates as well. We will be using Firefox. You can get the free Firefox application for iPhones as well as Android. So that's one of the things that we will be doing. You can convert to the videos, and this is how to obtain the IO lab. So you do have that reference. So I've got a video on how to get that, and you'll want to be able to get that before the 3rd or that first week in February, because that'll be our first lab that will probably use the IO lab. So you have all of those resources in there. I see somebody's question in the chat here. PhET, we may or may not use PhET in this one. I used PhET for Physics 2. Physics 1 is a lot easier to do than Physics 2. Sometimes we may use PhET as some examples, but most of the time we're going to be actually using a physical device or your phone. And if we do use PhET, you'll get connections to it. All right. So questions about where things are at. Just be aware that my office hours, so if you come in here under the syllabus, you'll find my office hours. And there's information in here as well. And in this class, you will be doing graphing. using tools. And so you may want to look at the graphing standards pretty early on. I've done a few things. Usually when I'm grading, laboratories are my things that get graded kind of late. I try to grade them as quickly as I can, and I've been doing some things to speed that process up, but be aware it may be a week before you get your laboratory back out there. But I'm telling you right now, no references means it's 5 point off the top, and that's being pretty clear about that early on. Okay, so everybody ready to dive into the first lab? Okay, so here's our first lab. Typically, what we do is you will submit your laboratory memorandum through, it'll say laboratory submittal and instructions. One of the first things that you'll want to do is click on to that, because sometimes the instructions for the lab will be in the document itself. Like this one, for example, you have step-by-step instructions as to what to do. When I grade the laboratory memorandum, I'm looking for, did you perform the task? Did you document and draw on your results? I look for proper grammar, capitalization, and punctuation. Use your resources. Both Google Docs and Microsoft Word will do spell check and grammar check. Use it. You want to ask questions early, because then I can help you and make sure you properly reference. So you do have this laboratory that those are the kind of generalized instructions. So what we've got here is I also have past introductions. So I have an introduction to the laboratory on graphing. So these are past ones. So if today's doesn't make sense, you can go back and look at some of the past videos. Those are already there. But you have two general data sets that we're going to do. And then you have the example laboratory memo, and then you have the grading of an example memorandum. So those are things that are in there. So the first thing you're going to do for this lab is you're going to take your data set and you're going to download your data, because you're going to put it into Excel or you're going to put it into Google Sheets. So if I open up the data set, there it is. You can download from Blackboard through right here. So we're going to download it. Okay, looks like it's downloaded. I'm going to go ahead and download the other data set too, just so that you can see that one. We'll download it. There it goes. It finally got through. So once you download it, what you'll do is you will find wherever it is you downloaded it. So I'm going to my downloads folder. And I'm going to click on this first data set. And while that one's coming up, I'm going to click on the other data set as well. It's telling me I have a dialog box open and I'm not sure why I have it. There we go. Okay, so here's one of the data sets. Let me get the other data set out here. So this is the data for graphing. First thing that you're going to want to do is you want to be able to enable editing. So you'll click on enable editing so that you can actually work with the data. All right. You have 3 data sets here on this one, and then you have 2 more data sets. So the first thing that you're going to do with these 3 data sets, you want to plot them as a scatter plot, and you're looking to determine whether or not there actually is a correlation. Now, if you go in here on your ribbon, this is your ribbon for Excel, and you go in and you talk about insert, you'll see where you can insert charts and graphs. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at, is there a correlation between force and mass? So we're going to highlight this data. We're going to come over to our charts. We're going to click on our charts and we're going to hit a scatter plot. And now I have a scatter plot. So on this scatter plot, we've got, there's our force, and then there's our mass. And then you can go in and clean this up and play with it and put chart titles in there. If you click on right, click on your mouse, you can add chart titles. You can change your chart type. You can do a lot of these different things. But what I'm really looking for is there a correlation? How do I tell whether or not there's a correlation? I'm going to click on my points and I'm going to add a trend line. And there's where you can add data labels. You can do a variety of things. I'm going to add a trend line to this one. And it'll come up with a set of trend lines. And you can see that I have a nice linear correlation. So the answer is, yeah, there's a correlation here for this one. We have that. And I'm going to display my equation on the chart. And I'm going to get my R squared on the chart. So I can do that. And I can close that off. And this is the graph that you're going to want to put into your laboratory memo. You're going to end up with 5 different graphs from this set of data. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to end up with 5 graphs. These 3, all you're doing is there a correlation between these data points? For this set of data, this is time and position data. You're going to highlight, you're going to go ahead and plot your chart. We're going to come over here. We're going to insert our graph. We're going to hit our chart. We're going to hit a scatter plot. There's my scatter plot. And in this data, what I want you to do is not necessarily see if there's a correlation. I want you to describe the motion. I want you to give me a paragraph that is telling me what is happening with the data as we go through this data. So I've got a position versus time plot. So I'm starting out at a 4.5 meters because that's what I said my data is in. It's in meters. So I'm starting at a position of 4.5 meters. And as time goes on, I'm going to move. And this looks like it's a curve. Looks like we might have an acceleration. So I might be accelerating until I get to 12 meters at 4 seconds. Then it looks like I'm going to be standing still. I'm not going anywhere. As time moves forward, then I might be traveling at a linear velocity or a linear speed back towards my 4.5 or my 4-meter spot through 10 seconds. Then I'm going to stand still and then I'm going to move on. So you're going to write a paragraph describing the motion for that particular chart. So those are the first 5 charts. You're going to give me 2 charts where you're describing the motion and 3 charts where you're looking to see whether or not you have a correlation. Then you're going to take the other data set, and you've got 4 data sets in here. We're going to enable editing. You have a choice. You can either plot your data as position versus time, because you've got time, distance, and velocity, or you can plot your data as velocity versus time. If you plot it as position versus time, you're looking for the slope, because if I'm doing velocity versus time, you're looking for the slope, because the slope will end up being our acceleration for the object that we're looking at. And in this case, we're looking at gravity on a planet or an object in space. So if I do a position versus velocity plot, I'm looking for the slope, and the slope will be equal to gravity. If I do a position versus time plot, I'm going to get a parabolic curve, and I'm looking for the value in front of time squared to give me my acceleration, because it's 1/2 gravity times time squared is my equation of motion, and I will get that data to be able to find gravity. Once you get a value for gravity, you're going to compare it with these space objects, and I want you to tell me which data goes with which object. You have 4 data sets, and you'll be able to do 4 plots. I'm only looking for 4 plots. You could do 8 plots, but I'm only looking for 4. But you can actually take this data and find the acceleration due to gravity from the data to be able to move forward there. So you're going to do 4 plots from this one. You're going to do 5 plots from the previous one. That's going to give you 9 plots. So you're going to end up with 9 graphs in your laboratory. So those are the 2 data sets that we're going to be working with. The last thing that you need to do is you will need to I go up here to my learning resources or my resources, and I'm going to find the video analysis tool. I'm going to click on my video analysis tool. And it's going to take me to the video data. And during the semester, we will actually upload videos into this particular item, and you'll be able to analyze your own videos. But for this one, we're just going to use a sample video that is in the data set. And I'm wanting you to learn and play with the tool itself. There we go. So it's going to first pop up with import video. Depending on how your screen is, you may have this box hidden in your screen. You may have to kind of scroll down, but the video that we're going to play with is this basketball shot. That's the video we're going to play. So we're going to load that video. We're going to use it in here. So there we go. It's in here. So now that I've got my video in, I've got a place to start. I want you to come over here to these 3 buttons. If you come into this 3 buttons, you've got your user manual. That's the manual for this program, although it is fairly self-explanatory. It's pretty easy to deal with, and it gives you your about information. You'll notice that you've got a plot that'll actually plot your graph. and you get data that will give you an Excel sheet. What's interesting about your graph options, you can come in here, you can create graph legends, you can apply curves, you can do all kinds of cool things with this. But what we're going to do is we're going to use this to get data. In here, you have the frames and you have your frames per second. You have your advanced options where you can come in and change your frame rate. But we're going to keep the frame rate the same here. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a system. And what we do is we usually have a reference point in your video that's around that we can use. A lot of times when you're going to do your own videos, you will have a meter stick or a ruler or something like that in there to do. So we will come in and we're going to set the scale for our image. Now this is a door. Doors are usually about 6 feet 8 inches. So I'm going to use my 6 feet 8 inches, 6. So I take 8 divided by 12. I get that plus 6. I get 6.67. And then I've got, if I'm doing my meters, that's about 2.2 meters. I'm going to use 2.2 meters for the sake of this. You can go in and get your actual conversion factors, but I'm going to say that that's 2.2 meters, and I'm going to set the scale for my system. I'm going to move this video. I can move the video to where the ball is actually leaving the hand. There it is. I've left the hand. I'm going to set my origin up to where that ball is. So there's my origin on the ball. And now I am going to be able to add data points as we go through. So if I come in through here and I can pick a data point, there we go. And as it moves frame by frame, I can pick my data points. And what you're going to see over on the graph is it's actually graphing my object. And I'm not being real careful here, but this way you can see where the graph is going and we get our data and we move on through the data. There we're getting to about the top. We're getting more to the top. We're getting more here. Here we go. I'm going to follow this a little bit further. There we go. So now you can see that data. That data has arrived on our chart. I'm going to go ahead and apply a curve fit to my data here. I'm going to apply a curve fit. I'm going to do a linear curve fit and apply. And the red data will be matched with the red data here. So you'll see that there's my linear fit for my slope, my y-intercept, and my correlation factor. The blue, you see, doesn't fit very well in here, but I've done my linear fit, but my red data matches my red and my blue to purple data matches my purple. I can go in and I can apply a different curve. Instead of a linear, I can put in a quadratic. So now I apply it. There's my quadratic. And now there, if I do the quadratic, all of a sudden I see a little bit better data that's in here. So you get that quadratic data. So you can actually see your data for your spots and be able to play with that data on your curve fits. You can download or move these data points around. You can do a lot of different things. You can export this data. You can look at it. But what I want for this lab is a screenshot of this to show that you have played with the video analysis tool. So that's all I'm asking for this part of the information. So you're going to give me 9 plots plus this, a screenshot for this right here. And again, if you go back into Blackboard, you're going to see that if I go in here in my lab, you've got an example laboratory to actually follow through and look at how it was done. So you can take care of it from there. And there's the example laboratory, so you can walk through it. Okay, this laboratory is due on, I'm making it due February 5th to give you guys a little bit of time to play with things, to see how all this works out. And February 5th is a Thursday, 2 weeks from now. But I wanted to get you guys started, start asking questions, make sure that you've got things that are accommodating, but don't wait to the last minute because you won't remember what we said. And the next lab is probably going to be due February 5th as well. So we've got that one coming up. So I will take questions. Anything else anybody needs? If there are no questions, I'm going to turn you guys loose, and you can message me through Blackboard or email me, and we'll go from there. And we'll see you next week.